My son Lazarus was murdered February 19th, 2007 on Lawrence and Troy Avenue on the city north side of Chicago, Illinois, in front of Jerusalem Food and Liquor Store. There was no school that day. It was Lincoln's birthday. It was on a Monday. My son was with a group of his friends. They were all 13, 14 years old. Lazarus was going to graduate out of 8th grade. February 19th was the day he was murdered. His graduation would have been June, the month of June, from Butlong Elementary School out of 8th grade, but he didn't get a chance to make it. A group of guys jumped out a white van with no windows, and they approached my son and his friends. Lazarus' friends ran, but the detectives told me that Lazarus didn't run because none of them really had any reason to run. They wasn't in gangs, and he knew Lazarus wasn't in gangs either. One of the boys jumped out the car and they said, "We're gonna F him up." And then one of the other boys said, "No, leave him alone. He's not in no gangs." And they beat my son in the head with a hammer, and like 13 or 14 boys jumped on him on the corner of Lawrence and Troy. And he died on the city streets, but when he got into the ambulance, they brought him back. And so I was home pregnant, and I was bed rest because I had fibrosis tumors. That night around 9:30, I got a knock on my door from a detective, and he said, "Are you Lazarus' mother?" And I said, "Yes, I am." They said, "Ma'am, your son has been in an accident." I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yes." So he said, "Can you come with me?" I said, "Where?" He said, "To Children's Memorial Hospital." Here in my head, I was thinking that maybe he went to the store, maybe, I don't know, or his friends or something got in trouble some other kind of way, but not the hospital. And when we got to Children's Memorial Hospital, the nurses and the doctors, they put me in a wheelchair. I guess maybe because they think I was pregnant. I don't know if they knew I was bed rest, because I really didn't get a chance to say anything about that. But they immediately put me in a wheelchair and they said, "You need to call your family, your immediate family right away." And I was like, "For what?" And they said that my son had been beat to death. And at that moment, it was like devastated, because I'm like, no way. Because I would never think that someone would do that to anybody, child, and not even mine. So they said, "Do you want to go in the room and see your son?" I was like, "No, not without my family." At the time, I went and I called my parent, my mom, and his grandmother, and my brothers, my sisters, and my best friends, and they all came. And I can't remember who went in the room first because it was 7 years ago, but I do remember that I didn't go in the room. And when I finally wanted to go in, what I seen was just horrible, because there were like 4 IV poles with 4 bags of blood. One had 4 and the other had 3. And Lazarus was just there, and they pushed me in with the wheelchair, so I was at the end of his bed, and I touched his feet. His feet were so cold, and I asked what was all the blood for. And they said the way he was beaten with a hammer, that he lost a lot of blood. And so they say he was brain dead. So the blood that they were giving my son was coming out of his ears and his rectum. And his head was swelling really big. And I said, "Stop, because this is not normal." I know they were trying to do everything they can to save him, but if the blood is coming out your ears and your rectum, then what purpose is it serving? So after that, they wanted to take him off the machine. And I was like, no. I said, "Don't do that." I told him Lazarus has a strong heart, that I wanted his heart to go on his own. And we stayed at the hospital. I think it was like 3-something or 4-something in the morning. His heart finally stopped. His spirit went up. The next day, every news channel was at my door. So my little sister was still over, And she said, Pam, there's a lot of people downstairs and there's cars and there's everybody here. She said, what do you want? Do you want them to come in? I didn't even brush my teeth yet. You know, I just lost my son and I was so devastated. But I knew that I had to have the world know about what happened to my son. So I said, send him in. So I did interview after interview after interview for the whole day. And when I was tired of talking and they kept asking, how do you feel? How do you feel? Who could do this? And things like that. You know, I remember saying that I forgive them who did this, but I don't want them to hurt someone else's child. And I want them to turn themselves in because no mother should have to go through something like this. So after the funeral, I talked with the detectives. I still talk to them right now today. Here it is, 2014 of June. And no one is in custody for my son murder. The detectives, when they call me, my heart, you know, it skips a beat because I'm thinking they're gonna call me and say, hey, we got someone that, you know, was involved in Lazarus' case, but it's never that. So sometimes when they call, I get really shook up about it and I get let down. But I learned to do, I learned that I have justice in what I do for 7 years now, to just give back to the community. I'm actually with CPS. I have a vendor's number and I tell parents and children about violence, how to blind the darkness of violence with light. I do emotions, do artwork with the children, medical and visual thinking, gangs, and alarm them about violence. And just reach out to other parents for, since 2007, let's see, 8, 9, I was on the streets doing prayer visuals, marching, and I pulled myself back because I wanted to just focus with the children and the youth with CPS. So I'm also a Safe Passage employee now, part-time. I love doing it. I love making sure the children are safe going to school and coming from school because they're so innocent. They don't really know that violence is around because they can't really see it, you know. So it really helps me, and I feel like I have justice. And I put an organization in my son's name, which is called Lazarus Jones Save Our Children campaign. And every day I try to post on my campaign page something. If it's not about Lazarus, it's about others, to just shine a light over darkness. And it keeps me alive. I'm going to read a journal, one of Lazarus' journals that I actually recited at his funeral that he wrote in grammar school. He wrote, in 10 years from now, I see myself in college. I will be a straight A student and a very smart boy, and I will work at the college. I will be the best student in my classroom, and I will be the president of my school or classroom. I also will be in the track and field. I will be the fastest runner in my classroom and in the whole world, and in the whole school. I will make it to the Olympics in first place. I will be the luckiest boy ever. I will also be the president of the United States of America. If I had to go to school still, I will have school in the White House. I will be the first black or African American president, and my parents will be so proud of me. My whole family will be rich. Also, my dad will be the richest person of my family. My whole family would live in that house. If I could fit all of them in it, I would be the first black president, Lazarus Jones.